This happened a few years ago when I had just finished high school. I had just moved to a new town where I started working at a video game store in a mall a bit outside of town. It was really fun at first. I loved talking about games and met a lot of customers who I had a lot of really nice conversations with about games, all day long. It really seemed like a dream job for a game nerd like me. Since I'm a female, I often had to deal with people being really questioning about my actual interest in video games. But most of our customers were really friendly and not prejudiced, which made working even more fun. Until one day. Our store had a lot of regulars, and I soon started to recognize almost every one of them. Most of them were just regular people coming in to pre-book some games, or just have a nice chat for a bit, while looking through our new releases. While some of them were a bit more odd. I didn't really pay much attention to the odd ones. They really didn't do anything besides acting a bit weird, asking weird questions and stuff. One of the odd ones usually came in every day to help me sort all the games in alphabetical order, which made me glad. I often had to run the store all by myself, and had little time to do that kind of work between customers, unpacking boxes and doing all the store marketing. He didn't really speak much, but I'm a very social person, and naturally I talked to him and made a lot of jokes, which he seemed to appreciate in his own quiet way, like it was uncommon for him to have someone talk to him at all. I thought he seemed nice, and assumed that he just had a hard time socializing with people, so I tried my best to win his trust and not to say anything that would make him uncomfortable. But one day, he started to act a bit more weird than usual. It was a regular day at work, and the guy came in as usual, asking if I needed help with anything. I appreciated his offer, but gladly declined and said that I had everything under control. As I started my daily routine in the store, marketing new releases, cleaning the floors, etc., I started to notice that the guy was following me around. He was really quiet, and every time I turned around or noticed that he was staring at me, he looked away instantly. I didn't really think much about it at that point. I had too much work to do and kept on doing my routines and dealing with other customers. But he kept following me around, always staring right at me. After a couple of hours, I noticed that he was still around. I guess I'd been too busy to notice him, but he was still in the store, and still staring at me. I was about to close up when he started asking some really weird questions, like where I lived, if I had a boyfriend, what my full name was, and if he could add me as a friend on Facebook. I declined, telling him we had a strict policy at work not to add customers as friends on Facebook, which I faked. There really isn't any policy. I just didn't know what to say, and his questions started to make me feel really uncomfortable. I told him politely that I had to close up the store. He nodded and started to walk away, slowly, turning around every now and then to see if I was still watching him. I closed up, went home, and didn't really think much about it. I told my current boyfriend at that time about the guy and his strange behavior. He sat quiet for a bit, but after a while we both agreed that it really wasn't anything weird going on, and we both went to sleep. The next day seemed like any other day at work. I had just started doing my daily routines when the guy showed up again. I said hi, trying to sound as positive as possible, but he didn't answer me. He just quietly started to sort our games in alphabetical order, like he usually does. But I noticed that he was always keeping an eye on me. At this point, I actually started to freak out a bit, but luckily it was a Saturday, and I had a lot of customers, so I was never alone in the store. The day went on really quick, and when it was time to close up, there he was again, right in front of me. This time, he wasn't really as quiet as usual, though. He started to ask for my full name again, and demanded that I would add him as a Facebook friend. I once again declined, and that's when he started to become a bit more threatening. He told me that he needed my address, and said that he needed to know exactly where I lived, which I refused to answer. He was getting really angry and told me that it didn't matter, that he would find me anyway. That he would follow me home and get into my apartment when I least expected it. I started shaking while he was screaming at me, when finally 2 guards during their routine stroll around the mall came by and asked if everything was okay. The guy became nervous and ran away, and I said that everything was fine. He just seemed a bit odd, that's all. Even though I was still shaking. I didn't want to make a big scene about it. I just wanted to get home, as soon as possible. I closed up again and headed outside when I saw him again. There he stood, right outside the mall waiting for me. I felt every single hair on my body suddenly rising, but I kept my head high and walked right past him like I hadn't even noticed him. He started to call for me. "Hey, you! Stop! Stop right there now! I just want to talk!" And when I turned around, I noticed that he was following me. I started to walk even faster, even more scared. I went down to the subway. He was still following me. I waited for a couple of minutes and glanced at him every other second, as he stood about 10 to 13 feet away from me, always staring right at my face. He went on the same subway as me, and I could almost feel my heart beat in my mouth. What was the matter with this guy? What did he want? I really didn't even want to know. I just wanted to get home without him following me. I texted my boyfriend that I was followed, and he told me to get off at the station before mine and that he'd meet me there. I did as he said, still watching every move that guy made. The subway stopped and I went off, as did the guy. I went up the escalators and noticed that he was running towards me. I started to run as well, as fast as I could up the escalators where I finally saw my boyfriend waiting for me. As soon as we met up, the guy froze still, turned around, and started to run away. Just like when the guards at the mall approached us. My boyfriend tried to calm me down as we walked home, but I just couldn't get the creepy guy's stare out of my mind. Let's just say I didn't sleep well that night. The next day I called my boss and explained what happened, and he told me to stay home for a couple of days, which I gladly did. My boyfriend was furious with hatred against this guy. Who knows what could have happened if I had walked home alone that night. It gave me shivers just thinking about it, and thinking about getting back to work and seeing him and his eyes staring at me again. I almost couldn't handle it. A couple of days later, my boyfriend sat me down by the kitchen table. His facial expression was totally serious. He held my hand, looked deep into my eyes, and told me that I never, ever had to be afraid to go to work again. I asked him what he meant, but he just shook his head and said it was all taken care of, and that I didn't have to worry about it. I couldn't get anything out of him. But just as he said, when I got back to work, the guy wasn't there, not that day, or the next day, or the day after that. It was almost like he had disappeared. I didn't ask my boyfriend until years later about that guy again, and what he had actually meant when he said that it was all taken care of. He didn't want to tell me at first, but after I'd begged him for a while, he finally cracked. I think it's accurate to mention that my boyfriend had been involved with some kind of gang before meeting me. I don't know much about it. He told me that after I first told him about the incident at work, he had contacted some of his former friends and asked them to track down this guy. And they had found out that this particular guy had been following and raping women around town for a long time before I even got to know him. The reason he had kept this from me was because he didn't want me to be more scared than I already was. But he assured me that he had been taken care of, and that I never had to be afraid again. I never asked him about what happened again after that night, but just thinking about it still gives me shivers. I wonder how many girls before me were a victim to this guy. I wonder what he did to them, and I wonder what happened to him. The only thing I know is that I never saw his face again. And you know what? I'm really glad I didn't. In the earliest months of 2014, I started dating my current boyfriend. We hit it off immediately, which resulted in me staying at his house multiple nights out of the week. Eventually, I ended up living there, sharing a mobile home with him and his father. The neighborhood itself was fairly creepy, one of those unnamed country areas that branched from the main road. Richard, my boyfriend's dad, would tell me stories of how the entire street was owned by one man, a guy who had gotten old in recent years and let the land go. As a result, the field beside our mobile home was overgrown, with weeds and old trees. He also told me about the strange occurrences, of which he attributed two things: aliens and kids from another neighborhood. Despite his warnings on how creepy the area was, I didn't take him too seriously. After all, his biggest concern was aliens. I was unemployed for a short period of time after moving in, which left me alone in the house while Cody, my boyfriend, and his dad worked. I spent most of my days putting in job applications, cleaning up the house, and reading online. I guess you could say that my presence at the house was pretty predictable, which is the only explanation to this occurrence. On a day as unremarkable as any, while I sat reading a book in our bedroom, I heard a car pull into the driveway. The sound was pretty distinctive, considering the area wasn't paved but rather made up of gravel. Thinking that Cody had come home early from work, I slipped some shoes on and started for the front door, which was on the other side of the house. Before I could reach it, a knock sounded against the glass. The front of our trailer had a sunroom, basically a front porch that is encased with windows, making it so you had to go through two doors before stepping into the living room. Being as paranoid as he was, Richard would usually lock the sunroom door before leaving for work, unless he was in a huge hurry. Still thinking that maybe my boyfriend had come home early from work, I opened the first door to let him in. Only it wasn't Cody at the door, but rather a short Hispanic man. He smiled at me through the glass and nodded, almost as if I was exactly who he'd been expecting to answer. I noticed that he had one hand behind his back, the other hanging at his side. I tried not to think too much about it. Behind him, in our carport, was a small white truck, and I could hear that the engine was still running. "Can I help you?" I tried to make my voice sound as strong as I could, but it only came out shaky. "I'm with the garbage company. I'm here to pick up your trash cans." I blinked, knowing immediately that this was a lie. Yes, it was common for the garbage company to come pick up trash cans if the bill hadn't been paid. But I had gone with Cody the week before to pay it, not to mention, the drivers never knocked on the door. They only took the cans and left. I glanced to my left, seeing that our trash cans were still where we always kept them, on the outside of the sunroom, somewhat behind the house. "They're right there. If you need them, then take them." This time my voice was more assertive, causing my visitor's smile to turn into a frown. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't verbally answer, I just shook my head. My heart dropped as I watched him reach up to grab the handle to the glass door, pulling on it to open it. The door clicked, obviously locked. The man tried to pull it again, this time harder, causing the metal to creak. I jumped back into the house and slammed the front door, locking it with purpose. It was so quiet in the house that I only noticed two sounds: my heart pounding, and the doorknob to our back door jiggling. There was no way it could have been the guy at the front porch. He wouldn't have had time to get to the back door, even if he ran. "I'm calling the fucking police!" I yelled through the door, still baffled at the fact that this had all happened in broad daylight. I could hear the truck drive through the carport and into our backyard immediately after that. I took a moment to look through the blinds of a window, watching as a separate man jumped off the back porch and into the passenger seat. To this day, I am convinced that these men knew I was home alone and carefully planned an attack. One of them was meant to distract me while the other broke into the back door. I still don't know what the front door guy had hidden behind his back. All I can say is that I am forever thankful of how paranoid my father-in-law is. Who knows what could have happened if he hadn't locked the sunroom door. It's early November. Cold, rainy. Around midnight. My fiancée and I like taking spontaneous late-night drives. We typically start out on one of the main roads within our city, and keep following it until we hit the next town. Sometimes, our drives last hours. The layout of my county and surrounding counties is a little bizarre. All of the cities and towns are isolated by large spreads of woods and country. I live in a relatively large college town, but a half-hour drive in one direction can lead you stranded on jagged, unmarked gravel roads in the middle of nowhere, or in small, weird villages that no one knows about. It's actually pretty exciting, and that's why we do it so much. So it's midnight, and we're nearly lost. Willa, fiancée, is poking around on my phone trying to figure out what road we're on. We're on a mud path in a pit of country framed by small towns that we've never heard of. Florey, Winnetka, and Tell, or something. There are no other cars on the roads. It's rainy and misty, and the headlights of my car aren't doing a damn thing. There are stands of trees and brush on either side of the road. We're heading north. She tells me that she thinks we're going to cross 200th Street West, which runs into Wright Road, which is a straight shot to Winnetka. We make our way down the mud road for a half hour and never hit it. We've always had fun on these drives. It's the first time we've ever really been on edge. Willa says we should have found 200th Street Winnetka already, and asks if we passed it without noticing. I ask nervously if we should turn around, but she doesn't think we can without backing up into a tree or ditch. I'm driving a Mazda, and it has an awfully wide turn. She's biting her nails while scrolling around on Google Maps. 10 minutes pass and we finally see a little black road snaking up a hill, branching off of the road we're on. I hurriedly turn into it. It's very narrow and twigs and branches are raking the doors and windows of the car. When we complete the climb up the little road, we find ourselves in a wide paved clearing, with a house at the back of it, tucked into the thick woods. Willa doesn't miss a beat and starts hissing for me to turn around. Our headlights illuminate the whole property, which is in major disrepair. No lights, windows shattered, sliding shingles shredded. The yard is littered with scraps and trash, barrels, car parts, tools. Hundreds of glass bottles, branches, slabs of concrete, rocks, nasty old Chevy pickup. It looks like the house is sitting on top of all of it. Every inch of the property is entangled in nets of ivy and weeds. Willow points out little moving shadows and glowing spots around the yard. There are dozens of cats around and they're all looking at us, and their eyes are glimmering from the headlights. I almost piss myself when a walnut-sized rock darts out of the brush and pops against the windshield. It fractures my glass. Willa screams and grabs my arm. She's whimpering, Denny, what was that? What was that? Oh my God, Den, what happened? The rain is pouring in black streams down the trees, over the house and across the pavement. All of the blood runs from my face. After a few seconds, a man stumbles out of the bushes and weeds and he's carrying a fucking shovel. He's swallowed in a big, dirty navy coat and has a beard. Then a screen door in the house opens and all the cats scatter. A thin, tall, spidery woman crawls out onto the porch. She has long, wild grey hair. She's just up high enough on the porch that the headlights don't reach her eyes. She wipes her unusually dark hands on her skirt. I have no clue what was on her hands, but that's what I remember most about her, how dark her hands were, and stares at us. Willa is screaming and crying and slapping the door lock repeatedly. I throw the car into reverse, rolling over cinder blocks and branches, and then screech back down the road. After Willa stops crying and there's some distance between us and the house, I start to relax. Yet when we get out of the woods and hit a long, straight stretch of road, I notice headlights behind us. I get a stomachache when I notice the car is mimicking all of our turns onto different roads. After nearly half an hour of being pursued, we finally reach Florey and pull into a gas station, being visited by a few other people. I watch the vehicle pass. It's the same nasty Chevy truck we saw at the house. They stalked us all the way to the next town. We wait till we see the truck disappear down the road before we get out, get some food, and ask for directions. On our way home, I look at the rearview mirror more than I do at the road ahead. When we get back in the early morning, my teeth don't stop chattering until I fall asleep. So, creepy shovel guy and dirty hand cat witch, let's not meet ever again, thanks. Thankfully, we still have late night road trips and run into really weird and cool things. We haven't encountered anything to top that creep sesh, though. Since telling our families about it, we've been told to be a little more careful about where we go. We've also stored a knife in the glove box. I also keep my rosary in the car now, in case, I'm dying and need to say a couple of last Hail Marys. I've driven back around that area during the daytime recently, and I've not been able to find it again. I managed to find the mud road we were on, CR 90 North, but I've not yet found the turnoff to that particular residence. My windshield was fixed. Willa has suggested we have locations in mind when we go out on night drives, so we're not driving around aimlessly. Also here, safety, driving, travel tips. Stick to main roads unless you know the area well. If the weather is bad, avoid country roads. They can be swept away by flash floods, get icy, or can be blocked by snow. If you're driving at night, avoid leaving your vehicle unless you're in a well-lit location. Keep your doors locked, even while driving. In the country, it's common to run into people who don't have the best intentions. Trust your instincts. If someone is giving you bad vibes, get away. Don't roll down your window for anyone. Don't stop for anyone. If anything should happen, car breaks down, flat tire, wreck, while you're on a country road, call the police, and don't get out of your car until they arrive. My sister got a flat on a country road and was approached by a whole lot of creepy men. Don't worry about offending people, just wait for the police. Always have a spare tire, a full tank of gas, and a fully charged phone if you know you're going to be driving a lot, especially in weird places. Don't honk excessively, or be rude, aggressive a driver. People have gotten shot for that in the country. Hey guys, Hellfreezer again, and thank you very much for watching episode 23. Well, things are getting very exciting now here in the Hellfreezer home front. I'm at 878 subscribers as of when I record this. So close to the 1,000. Crossing all my fingers and toes that I'll be lucky enough to hit 1,000 by next week. And that, of course, is all due to you guys. If you're not subscribing, well, there's no point making stories. No one's listening. And it's your kind words and support that keep me going and keep me recording as much as I do. So humblest and sincerest thanks to you all. I've also got a few collaborations coming up. I've done one with Sino Studios. I'll link to that below. I've got one coming up with Blue Spooky. And I've also got another one coming up with Lady Spooky. I believe there's no relation there. And I'll keep you updated on those when they're posted. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take good care of yourselves.